Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I salute you all. I am Nathan Tambi from Fenlina Management Consultants. I am privileged to present to you this program known as Entrepreneurship and Sustainable Development in Africa, sponsored by Fenlina Management Consultants. The aim of this program is to motivate every African to be an entrepreneur. This is one of the series of lectures and presentations relating to entrepreneurship and sustainable development. The program emphasizes the role of entrepreneurship in addressing sustainable development challenges in Africa. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. It provides shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people on the planet, now and into the future. At its heart are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which are an urgent call for action by all countries, developed and developing, in a global partnership. They recognize that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. The Global Sustainable Development Report plays a key role in the evaluation of UN system-wide implementation of the 2030 Agenda and on advocacy and outreach activities relating to the SDGs. In order to make the 2030 Agenda a reality, broad ownership of the SDGs must translate into a strong commitment by all stakeholders to implement the global goals. These are: number 1, end poverty in all its forms everywhere. 2, end hunger, achieve food security, and improved nutritional and promote sustainable agriculture. 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages. 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls to be very productive. Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. 7, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. 8, promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. 9, build resilience infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. 10, reduce inequality within and among countries. 11, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. 14, conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. 15, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. 16, promote peace and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. 17, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is intended to transform our world. How? These are the resolutions and commitments by the participating members of the United Nations on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This agenda was a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. It also sought to strengthen universal peace in larger freedom. They recognized that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, was the greatest global challenge and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. All countries and all stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership were required to implement this plan. They were resolved to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want, and to heal and secure our planet. They were determined to take the bold and transformative steps which were urgently needed to shift the world onto a sustainable and resilient path. As they embarked on this collective journey, they pledged that no one would be left behind. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals and 169 targets which were announced that day demonstrated the scale and ambition of this new universal agenda. They sought to build on the Millennium Development Goals and complete what they did not achieve. They sought to realize the human rights of all and to achieve gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. They are integrated and indivisible and balance the three dimensions of sustainable development, which are the economic, social, and environmental. Goals and targets would stimulate action over the next 15 years in areas of critical importance for humanity and the planet. They were determined to end poverty and hunger in all their forms and dimensions, and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. They were determined to protect the planet from degradation, including thorough sustainable consumption and production, sustainably managing its natural resources, and taking urgent action on climate change so that it could support the needs of the present and the future generations. They were determined to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous and fulfilling lives, and that economic, social, and technological progress occurred in harmony with nature. They were determined to foster peaceful, just, and inclusive societies which were free from fear and violence. There can be no sustainable development without peace, and no peace without sustainable development. They were determined to mobilize the means required to implement this agenda through a revitalized global partnership for sustainable development based on a spirit of strengthened global solidarity, focused in particular on the needs of the poorest and most vulnerable, and with the participation of all countries, all stakeholders, and all people. This is the vision of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In these goals and targets, they set out a supremely ambitious and transformational vision. They envisaged a world free of poverty, hunger, disease, and want, where all life can thrive. They envisaged a world free of fear and violence, a world with universal literacy, a world with equitable and universal access to quality education at all levels, a world with health care and social protection where physical, mental, and social well-being are assumed. A world where they reaffirm their commitment regarding the human right to essential facilities, safe drinking water and sanitation, and where there is improved hygiene, and where food is sufficient, safe, affordable, and nutritious. A world where human habitats are safe, resilient, and sustainable, and where there is universal access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy. They envisaged a world of universal respect for humanity, human rights, and human dignity, the rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination. A world of respect for race, ethnicity, and cultural diversity, and a world of equal opportunity, permitting the full realization of human potential and contributing to the shared prosperity. A world which invests in its children and in which every child grows up free from violence and exploitation. A world in which every woman and girl enjoys full gender equality and all legal, social, and economic barriers to their empowerment have been removed. A just, equitable, tolerant, open, and socially inclusive world in which the needs of the most vulnerable are met. They envisaged a world in which every country enjoys sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth and decent work for all. A world in which consumption and production patterns and use of all the natural resources, from air to land, from rivers, lakes and aquifers, to oceans and seas, are sustainable. A world in which democracy, good governance, and the rule of law, as well as an enabling environment at national and international levels, are essential for the sustainable development, including sustained and inclusive economic growth, social development, environmental protection, and the eradication of poverty and hunger. A world in which development and the application of technology are climate sensitive, respect the biodiversity, and are resilient. A world in which humanity lives in harmony with nature and in which wildlife and other living species are protected. Our Africa today. Africa is still experiencing immense challenges to sustainable development. Billions of our citizens continue to live in poverty and are denied a life of dignity. There is rising inequality within and amongst African countries. There are enormous disparities of opportunity, wealth, and power. Gender inequality remains a key challenge. Unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, is a major concern. Global health threats, more frequent and intense natural disasters, spiraling conflict, violent extremism, terrorism and related humanitarian crises, and forced displacement of people threaten to reverse much of the development progress made in recent decades. Natural resources are depleted and adverse impacts on environmental degradation, including desertification, drought, land degradation, freshwater scarcity, and loss of biodiversity, add to and exacerbate the list of challenges which humanity faces. Climate change is one of the greatest challenges of our time, and its adverse impact undermine the ability of all African countries to achieve sustainable development. Increases in global temperature, sea level rise, ocean acidification, and other climate change impacts are seriously affecting coastal areas and low-lying coastal countries, including many least developed countries and small island developing states. The survival of many societies and of the biological support systems of the planet is at risk. It is also, however, a time of immense opportunity. Significant progress has been made in meeting many development challenges. With the past generation, millions of people have emerged from extreme poverty. Access to education has increased for both boys and girls. The spread of information and communication technology and global interconnectedness has great potential to accelerate human progress, to bridge the digital divide, and to develop knowledge societies, as does scientific and technological innovation across areas as diverse as medicine and energy. In conclusion, the interlinkages and integrated nature of the Sustainable Development Goals are of crucial importance in ensuring that the purpose of the new agenda is realized. If we realize our ambitions across the full extent of the agenda, the lives of all Africans will be profoundly improved and our continent will be transformed for the better. Thank you. I remain Nathan Tambi from Fenina Management Consultants, privileged to bring to you entrepreneurship and sustainable development in Africa.